idea. Somebody's idea.
-3. Go ahead, Daniel.
It has to be passed by a majority of the.
It has to be proposed first.
It has to be proposed.
What's the one thing that's got to happen?
Idea was wrong. Proposal's wrong.
Hold on.
5, 4. Go ahead. Anybody in your group. Anna, you can jump in on this.
How many do you?
This is actually very easy.
How many
4,
votes do you need?
3.
It has to be signed.
You just need 2 by 3 majority votes in the for the bill to be passed, and then for the proposal to be passed, right?
So it just has to be passed by a majority vote. There's something else that's more specific about it. 3.
If the president vetoes it, they could have a large enough majority to overturn his.
-3. What is it? Go ahead, group.
Has to go through the committee.
There's one thing, though, that's got to happen.
It has to be similar in both the house.
Similar?
It has to be identical.
Identical. Go ahead, click it.
Smash.
Got to be passed in identical form by the House and the Senate. Not just passed, but passed in identical form. Touch the House. Pick me a category. Go.
Articles 2 points.
Articles for 2. List all you can. Click it. 77 cents. Yes, you have it first. You'll have it next. Go.
The women, it's an article that stated about the 77 ratio, a dollar salary for men to women.
Okay, go ahead. Explain that
The
again.
Department of Labor Statistics.
So for every dollar a man earns,
the woman makes 77.
the woman on average makes 77 cents. Now, the article is talking about discrimination.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then, however, the statistics is from the Department of Labor, which it's a general figure for the whole thing. But the white on other lookouts or whatever searches, polls,
Yeah.
the women who serve in the White House earn about 94.
Anybody in the group can help her.
Their ratio is between 94 and 95 compared to the dollar made for men.
Okay, it's actually 93, but here's the basis of the article. The article is asking the question, is it really discrimination or is there something else? Anybody in the group, go ahead.
It doesn't take into account the fact that women stop working to go have children.
1, 2.
Motherhood.
Anything else?
Jobs they can't do, like firefighters, stuff like that.
Yeah, and the jobs that they choose, like women typically go into education, social.
It does say that part of this is based on the jobs that you choose. Part of this is based on the idea that you leave the workforce to raise kids and then you come back. How would that skew things? Anybody? You guys have it.
They wouldn't be able to work when they're on maternity leave.
They wouldn't? Okay, and if a man can work, how does that change it around?
Women won't be getting paid while a man does.
And in fact, the man would also be eligible for
Raises.
promotions and raises and things like this. Anything else you want to tell me? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think I saw your hand.
Well, because he has more experience, because he's been working while she's been sitting out.
Has that already been said?
No.
-2.
No,
I
didn't. They didn't talk about it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was what Christopher said. Go ahead.
Wait,
That's why I raised my hand.
It was said by Obama that every woman gets 77 cents per man gets $1 per one.
We are.
That was
-2.
Yes, it was said by Obama.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, touch the House. Pick me a category. You guys are clearly in second place now, and the feminists are in retreat.
Civil rights for number 2.
Civil rights for 2. Brown versus Board of Education, first hand, it's you. What was the slogan from Brown versus Board of Education? What was the ultimate ruling?
Separate but not.
-2. Go, it's your hand.
Hey, he's trying to make us.
No, she yelled out separate but equal. You guys have it. 5,
Yeah, definitely.
4. What was the ultimate ruling in Brown versus Board? You guys have even already said this. Go ahead. 3.
Separate is not always equal.
Corzine, go ahead. 2.
It's separate but equal. It's inherently unequal in the context of public education.
So what did they do?
They
Desegregated schools.
Click it. Yeah, they desegregated the American public schools. Separate but equal was inherently unequal. Go ahead. I'll give you 2 more points for that. Pick me a category. Touch the House.
Civil rights.
Yeah, you did.
But they said the other first, so they should lose 2 points for that, right?
What
We
was
said both.
Civil rights, 3 points.
civil rights for 3? Go ahead. Click it again. Home country. Yeah, you guys have it. Whoever, you'll have it next. Go.
It could relate to a video.
Could.
Michelle Michelle Obama said about Obama's home country.
Country, yeah.
What did Michelle Obama say in this video?
She was saying, we went to somewhere, and then in Obama's home country.
Okay.
She was home country of Kenya.
Home country of Kenya, 1, 2, 3. What was the problem with this? What's going on?
The birther's issues, asking about his birth place and his citizenship of the
The birthers are a group that are actually concerned about whether or not President Obama was born in the United States. And this is actually a controversy that's been going on for a while. And she actually slipped up and said in that video, or maybe she did it intentionally, when we went to Barack's home country of Kenya. When you say home country of Kenya, we discussed this, what does that make it sound like you're really saying?
It makes that's his real identity and where he was born.
It makes it sound like he was actually born in Kenya. That's true. Anything else you want to tell me? 4, 3, 2.
Relations to any article, or can we?
I think we're done. Go ahead.
The reason birthers brought this up is because they say he can't actually be president, right? They said that if they can prove that he's from Kenya, that he's not actually born here, they can't be the president.
That's actually true. In fact, that is the argument, and that's why they're going to court. Anything else? 4,
No, don't say
3,
anything else.
2, 1. I think I saw your hand.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay, pick me a category. Touch the house. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 38. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 33.
Go back in.
Executive 2 points.
And 0. Executive order, executive agreement, executive privilege. First hand I see, if you'll go with that. Your group has it.
Okay.
In any order. Zoom in on that group, Amanda. And you can walk around. You don't have to stand.
The executive agreement is a fact that is made between the president and foreign leader of a government that does not require Senate approval.
That is true. A lower level treaty. 1, 2. Can you give me an I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Can you give me an example of an executive agreement? 5, 4, 3.
There was a local treaty recently with President Obama. He made a treaty with Iran about oil.
Maybe, but something that we talked about. 4, 3,
What was the question?
2, 1. Who's got it next?
Executive order, an example of an executive order.
Who had the next hand?
Oh, I didn't see.
Who's had the next hand, Amanda? Next hand I see. Who wants to define these 3 terms?
I can do
Go
one.
ahead.
I can do one. The executive privilege is we specifically talked about Bush and how he used the Nixon to talk about how
Zoom in on her.
he used executive privilege to talk about the fact that he didn't have to release the tapes, right? It was executive privilege.
So what does executive privilege literally mean? Because that's an example of executive privilege.
He talked about how it was his privilege to have secrecy for the protection, right? It's something.
Secrecy of what?
Secrecy of like national security privileges. Like he says
But
that
secrecy of what? What does he want to keep private?
information,
Information from where?
the public or the courts.
From the White House.
From the White House. He's basically making an argument that the president, White House communications can be kept confidential from anybody, from the courts, from the Congress, from the American people. And you're right, ultimately it was Nixon that did this. Nixon lost the case, right? What is the accepted definition of executive privilege? Because Nixon said it had to be absolute. What did the court say? 5.
National security.
In the interest of national security. Any other example or definition you want to give
asked
me?
the question about an executive agreement. Wasn't that the birds?
The birds, between what countries?
Us and Canada.
Us and Canada, 1, 2. Jimmy Carter actually passed an executive agreement with Canada dealing with migratory birds. Bush did something with Mexico regarding the borders, border security. Anybody have anything with executive order? Go ahead, I see your hand.
The definition is a decree with the force of law but not requiring legislative approval.
Yeah, this is actually, and Tracy's group is in the positive now. This is actually where the president can make domestic law and Congress does not actually have to agree to this at all. Can you give me an example? We just talked about it today. Anybody in your group? 5, 4.
It was used by one of the president in World War I, by Woodrow Wilson.
2, 1. Go ahead, Corazon.
Woodrow Wilson issued new.
Things that we talked about today. 5, 4,
Today.
3. Because we talked about it today. 2, 1. -2.
Oh, come on.
I'm grumpy. I warned you. Today, what was it? Go ahead and click it if you would. We talked about the Japanese Americans in World War II. Shame on you, Alex. You reacted to that. We also talked about the desegregation of the military. Executive order, ability of the president to make law dealing with Article 2 powers. Nobody said that, but make sure you get an answer without Congress approval. Executive agreement, lower level treaties with foreign countries which do not require consent of the Senate. And executive privilege, confidentiality dealing with executive branch communications. Touch the House. Fatima, you gave me the last correct answer. You are in last place, very far back.
Judiciary, 4 points.
Judiciary for 4. Now we're talking. First hand I see, ripeness. You got it.
Okay, so ripeness talks about the fact that it has to be happened, right? Like,
Has to be happened.
It has to be happening.
Zoom in. 5.
it has to have, it can't
4.
be a future thing. It has to have something that has a effect now. The
3.
pregnant woman case.
The
She
injury
has
has to be current.
2.
She has to be pregnant. It can't be the fact that she could die because she got
Explain
pregnant.
the example to me. Maybe that will help you.
Come on.
1.
Woman sued.
Prescribing contraceptive or advising contraceptives. The woman had a medical condition and
What was the medical condition?
she would die if she could. She could die.
Okay,
if she
Connecticut
became
had a law about 100 years ago that forbid doctors from prescribing or advising dealing with birth control.
So
She had a medical condition where she would die if she got pregnant. So go ahead.
So
1,
she
2, 3,
sued.
4.
She sued and the court struck that down. So then the doctor sued.
Why'd they strike it down? What did she sue for?
She
Because
sued.
she wasn't suffering at the time, so they can't do an if scenario.
She sued to
for
get
the-
contraceptive.
Okay, so she could get pregnant and die, but she wasn't pregnant, so she couldn't die. So the court said you haven't suffered an injury. Then what'd she do?
Then the doctor sued and that was struck down
Why?
because nothing had happened.
Because the doctor hadn't suffered an injury. Ultimately, what did they do to make the case right?
She brought a police officer and he prescribed in front of the police officer, so they were both arrested. And
They
then
were-
the injury had happened.
Yes, and the arrest was the actual injury. She didn't have to get pregnant. Go ahead and click it. Ripeness. A case dismissed by the Supreme Court because an injury has not yet been suffered. Go ahead, touch the House. Pick me a category. Gotta go, gotta go.
Article's 2 points.
Articles is already... Wow, you just called one that's already been called. -2. God. Go ahead, touch it.
We get to choose now.
Click touch the House. Okay. Yeah, actually, last place should choose. Pick me a category. Fatima, do you want to answer something?
I have to get it. No, I did not answer the last question.
I
But
know.
actually-
Zoom in on her.
No,
Go ahead,
but
pick
I
me a
thought-
category.
Okay, judiciary, 3 points.
Judiciary for 3. Mootness, first hand. I do think you've got that.
Okay. Mootness is when the court cannot pass a law, cannot pass the judgment because the case has already been resolved.
The case has already been resolved. 1, 2, 3. You just doubled your points. Can you give me an example of mootness?
For example, that in a case when a woman wants to when abortion was not allowed,
Zoom in.
and a woman wanted to abort her child, and she sued. But then normally the case trials take more time.
Yes, more
Take
time
more
than what?
time than the time needed for the childbirth.
Yes.
Like it takes more than 9 months.
So what would make it
So
moot? She's suing for an abortion, but what
Yes.
would make it moot?
That made it moot because her first trial was the case was already resolved before.
How was it already resolved?
Because the child
Because the child was already born. Wow, that took a long time. Any other example you want to give me? Anybody other than Fatima?
College one, we just discussed this one. Just read it.
You're not counting down. That is
5, 4,
I'm
3,
she is fine.
2,
Just do it. I'm
1.
She is fine.
Done.
Go!
Another example is when you use Stephanie and Fatima. If Stephanie got accepted into a school for a GPA that's lower than hers, and then she would want to sue the school, but then it's discrimination. So if the school sends her a letter of acceptance, then she cannot sue it because she just wanted to enter in the school.
The case was resolved. She was suing because she was discriminated against.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Why
And then
couldn't I answer for my group?
because it took a damn long time for you to answer the first one.
That's what
Go ahead.
I-
Click it. Mootness. A case dismissed by Supreme Court because it's resolved itself before being heard. Go ahead. Pick me a category. Fatima, be quick. Be quick. But pick me a category group. Go. What's? Articles for 4. Pictionary. I need a drawer.
Go.
Do it. This is an easy one. If you'll raise the arrow, turn on the lights. That's what I need you to draw. Okay? Got it? 1 minute on the 12.